We go.
Sweat Equity Podcast and streaming show, the number one business comedy podcast in the universe, in the world,
In the universe.
in the galaxy, baby.
Multiverse.
That sultry voice you're hearing is Eric. I'm Law. 2020's best small medium enterprise, best advisory podcast in the United States. We already won 2021's best podcast in
Should find out any day about 2022.
Oh, yeah. Listen to us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that good stuff. This episode with Devin Miller, who may or may not be wearing mascara. I don't know. IP attorney.
I didn't notice.
IP attorney to the stars. We talked about patent trolls, all that stuff. This episode is sponsored by ExpressVPN.
Are you going to barf, dude? You look like you're going to barf.
I'm trying to read.
Ew.
You're trying to barf. Try expressvpn.com/sweat. I got gum in my mouth, and I'm trying not to chomp it. There it is. I put it in like a dip.
Suck my pussy from behind.
Yeah, Lizzo. Try expressvpn.com/sweat. Gets you 3 months free. What's a VPN? Virtual private network. Don't get tracked by big data. Try expressvpn.com/sweat. Like Key Sweat gets you 3 months free off an annual plan. Who's doing that? Who's protecting you like us? We want to protect you like Big Mama Bear. Try expressvpn.com/sweat. I got the giggles. Get you 3 months free off an annual plan. Let's get this party started. Ah, the daughter!
What about my sweat equity? Sweat equity. Sweat equity. My sweat equity. My sweat equity. Sweat equity. What about my sweat equity?
Hello.
How's it going, man?
Oh, going pretty well. Busy as always. That's the way I like it. So life is good. Yourselves?
Can't complain. We just get right into it. If you haven't seen the show, I like the background. Got some branding going on there. Before we get into it, Devin, why don't you give everybody your plugs? Where can they find you? How can they hit you up? How can they get more of you?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'll give a couple ways. First way is if they want to grab a one-on-one session with me, called strategy meeting, 50 minutes free time with me, they can go to strategymeeting.com. Easy way to connect right to my calendar and grab some time. So strategymeeting.com. And then if they just want to find out more about myself, services, website, got a ton of content, ton of material to learn from. That's just at lawwithmiller.com. So those are the two best ways to connect up with me and to reach out.
Wow, strategymeeting.com. You got that domain now. I'm jealous.
Oh, you own that. I was like, oh, is that some kind of service that connects people to that? I was like, no, that's you. Oh, that's awesome.
That's right. It's an easy way to remember how to connect up with me. So it's a good URL to have.
How long ago did you get that one? We don't get into domain
nerd service. Out on these URLs.
I want to know.
I get asked about that more than I would have ever thought. It was about 3 years ago, and it was like, I was originally going to do strategysession.com, and I looked and it was like for sale for like 20 or 25,000. I'm like, well, I don't have that much money, and so I'm like, what's another way to say strategy session? I'm like, well, strategy meeting's pretty close, and so looked it up. It was available. Just happened to nobody had grabbed it yet, and I got it for like $12, and so it was great. Wow. About 3 years ago.
Well, it's like the Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah,
they did not get their .com.
Genius name.
That's right.
Did you know that?
Yeah, because the roller hockey team or something had the name already.
No, I just went
roller
to
derby. What was it?
It just went to some pickle thing or something. I don't know. So I don't even want. I think.
Well, I mean, in terms of we're talking IP, there's the Cleveland Guardians. There was some kind of like roller hockey. I don't remember what it was, but some stupid ass like guys in their 40s. No, I believe you.
I'll put it in again if you don't believe me.
But they didn't even Google it. They didn't even Google it.
Goes to the Packy.com about sports podcast. I don't know. Someone jumped on it.
Well, whatever.
We're out of the game, man. We can't squat on domains like we used to. What's the best? Are domains sought after? Do you do any domain brokerage kind of stuff when you're doing IP work? What kind of IP work are we talking?
Yeah. So Short answer is not necessarily on domains, but we do both the LLC formations or business formations and trademarks, which tend to go hand in hand at about the same time. You're trying to get a business name that you register at the state. You're trying to get a domain that is for URL, and then you're trying to get a trademark that you can use with your business. And so we do 2 of the 3, but we never really got into the domain brokerage yet.
So quick update. I think I spelled Guardians wrong because I think I'm getting dyslexic in my older age.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking right at it. For the record, I was right. It's a roller derby team, men's roller derby, which I didn't know was real.
Does it make you feel good?
It makes you feel real good. I was
right.
right.
You feel like a man?
Yeah, I mean, we can end the show right now if we need to. Eric was right. Done.
I'm going to schedule a free strategy session at strategymeeting.com, which is taking me to milleripl.com. Man,
yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, if I butcher that, I got to really fix something. So we have Eric did a great job getting our podcast registered.
Oh, this is my favorite podcast ever so far.
Registered.
I got to be right, and this. Ooh.
Yeah. And he's got a big hog on him. So yeah.
And that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So what can we do with that? We there's about 7 other sweat equity podcasts out there.
Exactly.
We knew that going into it, but my theory is to let it breathe on a strategy wise, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know we could do a cease and desist. Well, there's one Canadian one which I'm curious about. So
we do not have international protection, which I'll ask you about in a minute, sir. But
I think from a marketer standpoint, I would probably prefer us to let it breathe, let it go a little bit. Is there anything I'm not thinking about in that direction? So my theory is if someone else is looking for the other sweat equity podcast, they stumble on ours.
And ours has a little R with the circle around it.
Right. They listen to ours.
That's got to be the best one.
Yeah.
So
they listen to ours, even though ours probably isn't on brand with the other ones.
They're all other workout ones. It's all workouts.
They are?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was real estate. A lot of real estate ones. Because that was like an HGTV show for a while.
In the coming weeks, we're going to do an episode where we chop up clips of the other sweat equities and we can dissect them.
I like that. We roast battle them. I
Yeah.
like it. So the marketer brain of me goes, you know what? Let it drift. Let it go. We don't need to send anything. Maybe we get some extra listeners in that direction. Anything. I'm all about unintended consequences of things I don't know about. What am I missing here if we let it breathe too long?
The question, and I would say the key is too long. So the biggest issue when you get into trademarks, which is what you guys have, is if you let it go too long and you basically never enforce it and people start to use it, then you actually start to reduce the ability if you are able to enforce. In other words, if you're saying, hey, yeah, we have the trademark, but we let everybody do it and everybody's using it, it's become kind of commonplace, and then you lose the ability to actually enforce your trademark. So you do have to be careful on if you let it sit for too long that people will actually acquire the rights and you lose the rights. And kind of along that lines on the kind of the question on cease and desist, I mean, that's always kind of almost as much of a business question because you're saying, yeah, on the one hand, I could spend attorney time, I could go and invest, have them send out cease and desist letters and ratchet up the enforcement. And if it's a small podcast that nobody listens to and it doesn't really matter, then you're probably saying the return on sending out the cease and desist letter isn't going to be worth it. On the other hand, if you got another sweat equity podcast that has 5 times the listeners and everybody's thinking that that's your podcast and you're losing all your listenership, then you're saying that it makes sense. And so you always got to kind of weigh the return on investment as far as whether or not it makes sense to enforce your rights or to kind of hold off or to otherwise to utilize them other ways.
The tricky thing about this, though, it's not like we have Nielsen ratings, right? So we have to guess. The best indicator I can probably figure out is
frequency.
Frequency is if they do it on the same weekly or monthly or daily basis. That's one aspect. I was going to go if you had to choose one thing that's a direct correlation, I'd go ratings.
Of ratings for podcasts?
Yeah, if you're on Apple Podcasts, you got 1,000. That's going to tell me you got a pretty good listenership.
You mean reviews?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. Reviews.
In this scenario, it's important to be specific.
Yeah, no, for sure. The other thing we could check is probably their YouTube, Facebook videos and stuff like that. But I digress from this.
I've definitely sent the Instagram direct message to people being like, hey, it's not good for either one of us if they Google or they put sweat equity in and we pop up and then it's not going to you. Like, I've absolutely contacted people directly, not one response.
But what you actually can do is a lot of times Instagram, Facebook, almost all of them have takedown policies. So even if you don't want to send a cease and desist, you can actually submit a takedown saying, hey, they're infringing our trademark. We want to enforce our rights. And most of them is automatic. Once you submit it, it's now on the burden for them to show that they actually have rights to it. Otherwise, they'll take down. So a lot of times they won't respond directly, but you can actually go to TikTok or the other platforms and get it taken down.
Nice.
Need to note I'm doing that.
So
doing it later.
Well,
Sweat Equity Podcast.
At Sweat Equity handles ours.
Yeah.
What got you into this? What's your why? What's your purpose?
Yeah, that's a long conversation in and of itself. But
we got time.
The short answer is I've always had kind of two passions. So I love startups and small businesses. Been doing them since or while I was still in school, and I loved engineering. I loved the law side as well. So to back up just for the shorter version of the story, I was doing undergraduate. I ended up getting 4 degrees, which my wife always jokes is 3 degrees too many.
Jesus.
But I was doing undergraduate electrical.
Doogie Howser. Easy. Yeah.
I don't know that it's probably more persistence than intelligence. So, but I was doing undergraduate electrical engineering, got to the end of that. And I said, I like electrical engineering, but I don't want to be an engineer. So I was kind of at the crossroads.
Sick of getting electrocuted.
I hope I don't get electrocuted no matter what. But I was saying, do I want to be I loved it, entrepreneurship and business. Do I want to do a startup, small business, or do I want to do the law? And so I kind of, rather than split the deck and choose one or the other, I ended up choosing both. So I've actually been doing several startups. I've done everything from small businesses with my family to 7- and 8-figure businesses, as well as they're chasing at the same time my legal career and being a patent and trademark attorney for a lot of different businesses. So that's kind of just been when I was faced with the decision, I chose both paths and I've been chasing it ever since.
So Robert Frost, you didn't go, you just chose. What's the?
I just went right down the middle between both paths, so I didn't have to choose either.
What's the old Yogi Berra one? When there's a fork in the road, choose straight or something like that.
I don't know. So many good Yogi Berra quotes.
Yeah, before he got canceled. What's it called? So
what year is it?
He got canceled, dude. Yogi Berra. You didn't know that?
No. Okay. Isn't he dead for like 20 years?
Yeah. He still got canceled. Look, Confederate statues being taken down, all that stuff. Is there a trademark on that? Anything? So is this mic on? What are we doing with podcasts? We're getting sued not too long ago for being. Tell me about patent trolls. What do you have a fury against patent trolls? What I see it on both sides as well. Look, these are guys in South Texas, I believe. They set up shop. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
They do it in the drug running counties of Texas where it's so hard to get a case moved through all the time. It's strategic. They have like shell offices down in South Texas where it's all about immigration. It's all about drug running and stuff. So you can't ever get to the case while they're just hemorrhaging money from people who are making a lot of money. You're Adam Carolla, you're Mark Maron's. Yeah. I think Rogan was
Carolla
involved.
had his own crusade against.
He lost $200,000.
Oh.
And then they pulled back. They pulled back on it, and he ended up becoming the go-to. But all these other guys were under this umbrella. I kept my eye on it because I think we were just getting this podcast rolling, and I don't know. I find it interesting that you can sue for that. Any thoughts, comments, questions?
I can argue both sides because I think it depends on how you define as a patent troll. Because if you're in the business of just acquiring patents and going and enforcing them, you're really not creating anything, you're not adding anything. Then I think that you're probably on the side of you shouldn't be in that business. It's probably not the most moral business. But where I think that they serve a potential purpose, and if we'll in quotes put good patent troll, is that if you're a startup and you're a small business and you have, you put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, time and development, you went through the patent process, you got a patent, and then you go up against a big competitor. They have a lot more money, they have a lot more ability to drag it out in court. Then you're left with a few options. One is you can simply not do anything and let them run over the top of you. You can try and go to their competitor and sell off your patent and, or license it and let somebody else as a bigger dog in the fight go and fight it for you. Or you can go to a patent troll. And so a patent troll could potentially help a startup or small business because they're saying, hey, this is a valuable patent. It is worthwhile to enforce. We don't have the money as a small business, but you do as a patent troll because that's the business you're in. And so at some degrees, they can be helpful to a startup or small business to enforce what their legal rights. And so that would be the one argument I would make. They may be worthwhile or have a place, but I don't think where a lot of them don't fit into that model, and they're just simply going up, gobbling up patents, filing frivolous lawsuits, and trying to get as many settlements and people to pay out as possible. So a small portion are good, a big portion aren't so good.
You have innovation on your branding. Your personal opinion, does that stifle innovation? Because as an American, I feel like entrepreneurship is a very American endeavor. I believe you can kind of, it may not all be on you for doing it, all your hustle, but I feel like it is something uniquely American that if you have an idea, you can push it through. Innovation, I think when you have a patent troll, I think it stifles innovation. What say you? What's your personal opinion? Not Miller IP Law's opinion. And look, I can tell you're a good attorney because you threw out contrarian logic right from the get-go. You go, here's both sides of the argument. That if anybody's listening needs to figure out an attorney, you want a guy that can figure out both sides of an argument simultaneously. I feel like I have this in a very dumb guy way, but I can see both. I see both.
So annoying.
I see both sides of a coin.
You're just bored.
Yeah, some people. I've been called contrarian my whole life. I can't help it. I take it as a badge of honor now.
So my opinion would be, I think if you could fix the legal system to get rid of or allow startups and small businesses to reasonably have their case heard and not be so expensive, then I think you should get rid of patent troll.
I'll just call up Obama, make that happen. Yeah. I mean, what are we going to
do? First of all, Obama's not in office, so I think you have to call Biden. But whoever you're calling up, definitely get it going on.
We know who's pulling the strings. Look, Big Daddy Donnie T got robbed. Look, Obama's still got some flow. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
So no, I think that the bigger question and where I thought you were going to go is whether or not patents are actually good or if they stifle innovation. In the sense, you'll have some people. Mark Cuban is one that's a vocal downer on patents, saying he thinks that they stop innovation. They should just largely do away with the system. And I think that in the bigger question of innovation as to where patents help, some places you could probably make that argument. But most people, if you're going to do I've done businesses where, there's a lot of our research and development. It takes years of research development, takes millions of dollars in investment dollars to even get the product out. And the problem is if you don't have a way to protect it, it's kind of like the magic trick that is always easier once you know or how the magic trick is done to do it yourself. And the same thing with a lot of innovation is once you create the product, you can reverse and engineer it. Somebody else figured it out, and now you can actually do it yourself and rip it off, and you don't have all of that research development time and effort in there. And so I think that innovation should be promoted. I think if patents are done right, they can do it. But I think that most of the time on the patent troll side, they're not done right, and they stifle more than they help.
Yeah, that's interesting. I do remember when didn't Tesla open up, they just put out everything that they had done, I guess, in their battery technology. They just opened up all their patent information. And
Bam,
that's I'd like to say
Lightning, baby.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'd like to think it was like a benevolent thing, but who knows?
No,
you'd like to think that.
Companies. Red Hat, if you know computer, it's more obscure. Linux was an operating system. If you don't have a Mac, you don't have a Windows, then Linux does the same thing. They basically, both Tesla and Red Hat both have a ton of patents. They have thousands of patents. They both view it as more, this is a defensive measure rather than offensive. We'll let you guys use it, but if you ever come and try and sue us, you ever come after us, you other ways do it, we have a big war chest so we can fight people off. And so they're saying, hey, we want to promote innovation, but we also need to protect our business interests such that we are controlled if somebody were to come after us or if somebody wants to misuse our patents.
They open source it, yeah. Apache, I think, used to be big with something parallel to Linux back in the day. a lot of stuff like that. Yeah, went Apache on you. You didn't even know
Apache, I thought was like a word processor.
There's a bunch of stuff
And
that
Linux
was just
is an operating system.
open source, like OBS, all that stuff.
Sure, you're just naming other open source software. Whatever.
Well, just
Whatever.
I'm just trying to brag. No. Well, so what does, I guess if you have a product, I'm interested in process as a patent. As we move into an intangible kind of age, right?
You mean patenting a process?
You can patent a process,
Okay.
right? It's much harder, more expensive because there is a lot more R&D. I understand. Am I correct?
It depends on what you do. Now, it's this said a lawyer answer, but whether it depends.
Give me the lawyer
But when
answer,
you-
then give me your answer. How about that?
Listen,
It
I
depends
know
on
a
how you
guy.
define. I still got to give my lawyer answer because that'll answer the real answer, which is it depends on how you define process. If it's a business method, there used to be a Amazon or patent out there that was for basically the one click, and it's actually not enforceable anymore. But they used to have a patent on basically how you do one click. If it's general and just how you conduct your business, is very difficult, near impossible anymore in today's age to get a business method patent of how I conduct my business. Generally more of a process. There's a couple ways that you can get a process. One is way that you manufacture things. So let's say you're making a car and you had to, you're making a rim of a car. And so you had to mill it out to a certain, thickness. You had to do you had to heat it up. You had to cool it down. You had to do these steps in order to make something. The process of making something, a lot of times, if it's physical and tangible, you can get a process on that method. The other one you can do is sometimes when you get into the software arena, where a lot of times software is, kind of that intangible. It's kind of, you can't see it, you can't feel it. And so, but a lot of times software has, certain ways that they go about, step 1, step 2, step 3, we get the data, we process it, we do analytics on it, and then we provide you a notification on your phone. Those type of processes are more mainstream and are reasonably easy to get. It's more just on, if you try and get a business method, I would tell you don't bother because they've almost completely shut down that area of patents.
Yeah, it seems like trying to do a process, if you go through it, you'd get to a point where, actually this machine that is unique to this process is what we should be patenting rather than the process of what we're doing. It seems like the software side, I get that, that's basically code, ones and zeros, however you want to put it.
Yeah, and one of the other places it comes up is a lot of times with medication or with something of that nature in the medical industry, to where you have to do a certain mixture between this ingredient, this ingredient, this ingredient. You have to make it sterile. You have to do different things where there is a process where it's much more of how you make the medication than what are the ingredients, and that's another place that sometimes is applicable.
More like a recipe almost.
Yep.
Well,
Exactly.
I was consulting a beverage company that it wasn't the ingredients, it was the way they put the ingredients together that my buddy bought the patent on. That was the interesting part.
You made a face like it was a bad buy.
No, it was a great buy.
Oh,
He's just sitting on
you
it.
just burped. That's all.
Yeah, it was
a
burp.
random burp.
This Michelob Ultra
Okay.
we're drinking.
Well, didn't Coca-Cola? I mean, Coca-Cola doesn't have a patent, or they don't so that they don't have to put their formula out, right?
Yep. Exactly. So they do what's called trade secret, which is great if you can keep it a secret. If you can't keep it a secret, it's a terrible way. So Coca-Cola, and I think Pepsi and both Coca-Cola, at least the myths are that there's only 2 people on the planet at any given time that actually know the ingredients to either of those drinks.
And they can't be in the
And-
same plane at the same time.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, they have to be on different
Well, if
places.
the
They
Pepsi
can't-
guy
they're
dies,
dead
nobody
top
gives a
of each
shit.
other.
Yeah, no one cares about Pepsi.
And supposedly, if you want to get into more myths, is once one of them dies, they actually have a ceremony that same day that they pass that on, so that you still have the 2 people at any given time.
Creepy.
Oh my
That's
God.
myths. Now, whether or not it's true or not, but what they use is
I
they
want
use
to
it.
believe.
That's some IP
Biggest
lore.
trade secret.
All the
So
other IP lawyers gather around the campfire
Yeah.
to
That's
hear
right.
these
We all
stories.
give them the blessing, and then they're able to now know the secrets to
Oh, I
all
see
the
fire
all the-
and masks,
Yeah.
weird
Those
masks.
bird
like,
things on their faces.
Yeah. Go ahead. We cut you off.
Right.
No, you're good. No, but they basically are saying if you can keep something a secret, you can as long as you keep it a secret, it's yours. You own it. It doesn't expire. Whereas patents, you have to put down in the public. You get 20 years. And so Pepsi and Coke are saying we have a business plan where it's going to be the same ingredients for a longer period of time. Here's our formula, so we're going to keep it the same way. they have to they spend millions of dollars a year to keep it a secret. They've actually gone through court cases where people have tried to take them to court saying that you have to disclose your ingredients and how you make it because that you are infringing our intellectual property, and Pepsi and Coke will spend millions of dollars to keep it a secret because as soon as it gets out, they no longer have any protection.
Cocaine, was that the secret? The
Used to be.
For if I'm a startup, why should I call you up?
Because I'm an awesome guy and I know a lot of things. No,
very very eloquent with all this for sure. But if I start my own law firm, if I start a professional services company, I've got a product that's in the ideation phase. Should I give you a ring? What is the point of when I should call you?
Yeah, I would. It varies with each company, but if I was in somebody's shoes and when should I reach out to attorney? It's usually when you've gotten, whether it's branding, whether it's a invention, whether it's ideation, wherever you're at, when you've gotten to the point you've invested enough that if somebody were to come along and they're to rip it off, they're to copy it, and you say, ouch, that hurts, that's going to hinder my business. When you are reaching that point, that's when you should consider protecting your brand. So if you're just starting out a new brand today, you start the business today, and you're saying, should I get a copyright? Well, have you done any work to protect the brand, or do you have any near-term future? Are you going to do a marketing plan? Are you going to go out and sell it? Are you going to do anything near-term that's going to create a lot of value in the brand? And then if somebody were to copy it or knock it off, then you're going to say it's worthwhile. So usually it's kind of, I'd ask the question, is it somebody were to copy it, knock it off, otherwise do the same thing I'm doing, would it hurt my business? If so, I've reached the point where I need to protect it. If on the other hand, I'm saying I could pretty easily pivot, I could rebrand, I could do something different, then you probably don't need to worry about it at that point yet.
Good to know.
So I have I have a weird long-term thing. Those business models, those Porter's 5 forces and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I've got a totem pole model that I want to eventually trademark.
Here we go.
How do I go about this? Do I give you a ring and you go, okay, this is unique?
Tell them it sucks.
It may suck. Easier. Here's the thing. It may suck. But I'd still.
But I've drawn it on a whiteboard so many times.
I've
sunk costs.
I've taught business strategy to so many people using this. Look, we could go in.
Get it tattooed on your body.
We can go into. I don't have any tattoos. You don't have any tattoos, right?
Yeah.
You do?
No.
Yeah. We're unique.
You should do it.
I don't want.
You should do that.
I don't want to disgrace. But I don't want. It's not good. It would
be hilarious.
I don't want a needle on me. Unless it's heroin, back in the days, 90s. Lower East Side, that's how I used to roll. Seattle, grunge rock, you know what I'm talking about. If I wanted to go get that business model, how do I go about that? Like that doesn't, it's unique.
Step one, tattoo it on your body.
Yeah.
So if you're because where you're going, where I would give is the best analogy is Franklin Covey, right? It has the 7 steps for highly effective individuals.
There you go. Okay.
But in order to do that, you have to build a brand around each of the steps. So if all you have is, hey, I figured out 5 steps that are going to be the way to create a new business, and it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be the best way. You have to actually build a brand around it. So just coming up with the steps, anybody can come up with a few steps. They can say, here are the steps. You can't do it. But if you build a brand, Franklin Covey, he has each of the steps. He's trademarked them. He's written books on them. He's built up a following and a brand. Then you can do that. So that's kind of where you'd start. Now,
perfect.
If you're saying, I have no idea if I'm at that stage or I'm not at that stage,
I'm at that stage.
First of all, I would go Google it. As shocking as it sounds.
We should have said that in the first 30 seconds, by the way. You got an app idea? Yeah, it exists already, and it's better out there.
Exactly. But it's just shocking. I'll have people come in my office all the time and say, I got this great idea, and I've got these prototypes and I'm developing. I say, no, this really seems like I've seen it before. We'll sit down for 5 minutes and say, I think this is what you created, right? They're like, dang it.
Yeah.
So take that few minutes to actually search out. But if you can't find it, then I'd probably go talk to an attorney and sit down, say, here's what I'm doing. Am I at the right stage? Am I not at the right stage? And kind of go from there.
No, mine is so dumb that no one has thought of it. That just gleeked out boogers, I think, as I was laughing, looking over at Eric about it. But it's so dumb that the beauty is in its dumbness, in its simplicity.
Yeah.
Is that I can teach it to anybody. That was the idea. But
it sounds like there has to be unique aspects to every aspect of it.
Oh, I got it. The wings is your marketing strategy, baby.
Yeah, I've seen.
All right. Well, if you want to do it, I could definitely help you out. It's just whether or not it's worthwhile to invest in something that's so dumb that it's unique. But if you want to, you can do it.
I'm gonna do it. That's gonna be my legacy. Is this dumb business model? Look, I'm 37.
Nobody has a patent on the world's dumbest business model.
Right. I'm 37.
It's probably available.
I'm thinking about legacy a little bit because I'm a white male and I'm a cisgendered male in this society
for now.
For now, yeah. Who knows? But all right. Before we forget, we have to ask everybody their first time on, and I appreciate it. This went by real quick. If anybody needs any help, obviously strategymeeting.com is where you go. What advice would you give your 13-year-old self?
I'm going to give my 13-year-old self an advice. It's one that I hear from every startup, like almost everybody, and it's one that I'd give myself is get going with something. And I think that even as you're getting younger, there are things that I always thought were a cool business idea. And I thought, well, I'm 13. I should, I need to wait till I'm older and get a school and get an education. And yet I think that if I were to go back and say, try something out, get it going, even if it fails, you're 13, you can always recover. You're still in school. Your parents are there to help you. And that's what I've actually done with my son. My son actually now has started some businesses with me. He's only 11 and we're getting going on some things and it's a blast. So I'd say, don't wait. Doesn't matter your age. If you're only 13, you can still get going. If it sounds interesting and you have a passion, definitely do it.
I had an idea when I was 13. Fill in the hole of the bagel, call it a bogle. That was the idea.
Fill it with what?
Just you got donut holes, why not bagel holes?
Oh,
sure enough, they're
ubiquitous.
What was the idea you had? Do you remember?
Oh, it's been long enough. I mean, I had so many ideas. I started a candy shop when I was a kid, and then that's realistic or failed. I tried to invent a vending machine, and I'm like, well, this is never going to work. And so I was one of those that always had a whole bunch of ideas. And then I never really pursued any of them until I got into college.
So you feel like ideas are cheap, execution's a lot of it. Yeah.
No, I was implying you were fucking the bagels.
Oh, well. That's a whole that we didn't talk about high school. That's a different story. Appreciate you coming on.
Late bloomer.
I'm a late bloomer. That's for sure. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. And we'll have you back on if you got anything on your mind.
Absolutely. I appreciate having on. It was a great conversation. Love to be back on whenever we have more to chat about.
See you, buddy.
Thanks.